Chapter 239. The time of the Hidden Dragon rank competition was getting closer and closer, and the South Rudra region was getting more and more chaotic. Besides the hundreds of different martial institutions, tens of thousands of lone warriors had rushed to the Hidden Dragon ancient city. The lowest cultivation among them was at the Clasping Yuan realm, and none of them were below the Clasping Yuan realm. As for the reason, it was very simple. Only the ranked martial institutions could bring some of their disciples who were below the Clasping Yuan realm to watch the competition. As for the outsiders, they would have to be at least at the Clasping Yuan realm. Plus, there was a limit on the number of people who could go beyond the Hidden Dragon ancient city's capacity. Unless one was an astral-reaching realm warrior, he or she would not be able to enter. Under this rule, the lone warriors who were at the Clasping Yuan realm would have to leave a few months before the competition. If they could not watch the competition, they would regret it for 3 years. Plus, this year's Hidden Dragon rank competition was the most popular one, which would only happen once in 1,000 years. They would regret it for 10 lifetimes. When the whole South Rudra region was heated up, some of the powerful martial institutions were also making their own preparations. This year's Hidden Dragon rank competition would be the most popular one in the past 1,000 years. There would be countless martial geniuses. Plus, under the Hidden Dragon ancient city was the Earth Chi Dragon Fountain. It could be said that the ranking would directly affect the luck of the individual and the martial institution. This was not just a bluff, it was actually real. All of the young warriors who had shown their talents in the Hidden Dragon rank competitions had basically achieved something. The higher the ranking, the more achievements they would have. The competition was not only about the ranking, but also about the luck. Sky Flying Devil Martial School, an extremely tall mountain pierced through the clouds, disappearing into the thick layers of clouds. On top of the mountain, there was a majestic pitch-black palace. Outside of the palace, there were 2 black statues with wings on their backs and a third eye in between their eyebrows, guarding on both sides. Normal people would not dare to look at them directly. Inside the palace, the leader of the Sky Flying Devil Martial School had his back facing the palace door, looking high up in the air. This year's Hidden Dragon rank competition is not going to be easy. Mo Yen, as the head disciple of our Sky Flying Devil Martial School, you only managed to get the 8th place in the last Hidden Dragon rank competition. I am very disappointed. In the middle of the palace, 2 young men and women stood side by side. The teenager in black on the left bowed and said with respect, "Leader, Mo Yen has disappointed you. This time, I will definitely get into the top 3 and fight for more luck for the Sky Flying Devil Martial School. That's for the best. Let's not talk about you for now. Qingcheng, you were only ranked 27th in the previous batch. Are you still planning to hold back this time around?" The purple-clothed woman beside the black-clothed young man said, "Sect Master, in the previous tournament, my great sky demon art had just reached the 7th level, so I didn't have much confidence in making it into the top 10. That's why I didn't give it my all and planned to save it for this tournament." The woman in purple was Murong Qingcheng. "Your Sky Demon Great Art has reached the 10th level in such a short time, surpassing Mo Yen. It seems like you have had some other adventures out there. Alright, this year's top 10 Hidden Dragon rank, our Sky Demon Martial School will definitely take 2 places and become the number 1 rank 6 martial institution in the whole South Rudra region." This was a scorching volcanic zone. In the center of the volcanic zone, there were many red palaces surrounding it. And in the largest volcano, as far as the eye could see, it was all golden magma. On the magma, there was a large piece of land that had a radius of several dozen li, and on it sat a pure gold palace. There were only 2 people standing in the hall. "Qi Hua, you were the number 2 in the last Hidden Dragon rank. What do you think this time?" A middle-aged man wearing a pure gold long robe sat on a huge chair. The chair was neither made of wood nor metal, but something similar to rocks. It was extremely hard, and it looked very powerful. The young man said, "I, the Fire Spirit Prince, will not lose again." "Very good. The number 1 of the hidden dragon rank is the most powerful one, and you will get the most luck. If you can get the number 1, then you will definitely be worthy of the title of Fire Spirit Prince. The middle-aged man laughed. The whole palace seemed to be shaking, and the magma outside was boiling. Dao Xian, your heartless spell has reached the 10th level, and your heartless sword intent has reached 60% as well. You are indeed a rare martial genius of our heartless martial school. On top of the cliff, the middle-aged man in blue stood with his hands behind his back. His clothes were fluttering in the wind, as if he was about to leave. The young man with a cold expression said, "Leader, you are flattering me. However, the real heartless does not mean that you are heartless. Instead, it means that you see everything as nothing. As long as you are heartless, there is no need for you to care about the surface. This is the heartless Tao. If you can understand this, no one in the hidden dragon rank will be able to compete with you. Heartless does not mean that you are heartless. Seeing everything as nothing." The young man seemed to be thinking. Hee, this might be a bit difficult for you. Even I have not figured it out yet. I just want you to walk in this direction. You do not need to be restricted by the word heartless. Yes, leader. Although the young man did not understand the meaning behind it, he had already memorized it. In the Grey Mystery Nation, which was right next to the Black Dragon Empire. The Grey Mystery Nation had the largest land area among the 3 nations, but only 1/10 of it was actually populated. The rest of the land was made up of 10,000 mountains. In the west of the Grey Mystery Nation, the sky was filled with colorful clouds. Visible to the naked eye, an extremely thick beam of light shot down from the sky and landed on the vast martial institution. This martial institution was one of the 2 rank 6 martial institutions in the Grey Mystery Nation, the Sunset Martial School. Your head disciple was ranked number 6 in the last hidden dragon rank, but he is already over 24 years old, so he cannot join anymore. So, I will leave the top 10 competition to you, Qian Yun. The leader of the Sunset Martial School looked worried. This year's hidden dragon rank competition would be the most prosperous one in the past 1,000 years, and the luck would be immeasurable. However, the head disciple was already over 24 years old, so he could not join anymore. Although the second disciple had improved extremely fast and was already extremely powerful at the age of 19, he was still not powerful enough to compete with the top young warriors in the last hidden dragon rank. The young man who looked very handsome said, "Leader, I can do whatever the head disciple can do. You don't have to worry. I don't expect you to get into the top 5, but you have to get into the top 10. Everything will fall when it reaches its peak, and the hidden dragon rank competition is the same. The luck in the next hidden dragon rank competition will not be as good as this one. Qian Yun knows. The floating mountain, it was both the name of the magical mountain and the name of a rank 6 martial institution. In the history of this martial institution, there had been 2 life and death realm warriors, which had once brought the floating mountain martial school up to the rank 5 martial institution. However, there was always a downfall when there were no new life and death realm warriors. Therefore, the floating mountain martial school had dropped from rank 5 to rank 6. However, no one dared to underestimate the power of the floating mountain martial school, not even the royal families of the 3 great nations. In the middle of the endless mountain range, 1,000 meters tall mountain was floating in the air, 3,300 meters above the ground. According to the rumors, this mountain was brought back from some ancient land by the second life and death realm warrior of the floating mountain martial school. It contained the magnetic godly iron, which could repel the gravity of the earth. That was why it could float in the air all year round. There was only one palace on the mountain, which was the main palace of the floating mountain martial school. On the plaza outside the main palace, a muscular middle-aged man and a young man stood side by side, looking down at the vast land below the mountain. Unfortunately, my potential has been used up, and I cannot reach the life and death realm. But you are different. Your talent and comprehensive ability are even more powerful than mine. You are the most talented one among all of the Tsang King's descendants. You will have the chance to take the most difficult step and become the new king of the Floating Mountain Martial School. Right now, it is time to test you. As a descendant of a king, you have to do what only a king can do. Continue to take the first place of the Hidden Dragon rank, and bring endless luck to our Floating Mountain Martial School. The young man emitted an aura as if he was looking down on the whole world. His eyes were like a god's as he said lightly, "The South Rudra region is only my starting point. The true spirit continent is my stage. Big Grandpa, don't worry. The first place of the Hidden Dragon rank is already under my control. Without any accidents, when I reach the top again, it will be the beginning of me leaving the South Rudra region and heading to the true spirit continent." The middle-aged man laughed. In his mind, Sheng was indeed talented and had the demeanor of a king. What he lacked was an equally powerful opponent. Only an equally powerful opponent would be able to stimulate his potential and reach the level of Xianhou. After all, if a lion stayed in a group of sheep for too long, its claws and teeth would slowly become blunt. But, if a lion stayed in a group of lions, it would only become more powerful, unless it lost its pride as a lion. The Ice Crystal Empire, an empire of ice and snow. In this huge empire, there were also two rank 6 martial institutions, the Sky Falling Martial School and the Ice Extreme Martial School. The main palace of the Sky Falling Martial School was built on a meteor that was dozens of miles wide. It was dark with a hint of red, and its whole body was shining with a metallic luster. There was not a single bit of rock on the outside. Inside the Sky Falling Palace, the leader and the few core masters were all smiling. God wants our Sky Falling Martial School. Yun has trained his Sky Falling Great Art to its 11th level at the most critical moment. Indeed. The Sky Falling Great Art is a top-rank Earth Realm martial art. The power of its 11th level would be absolutely horrifying. This time, not to mention the top 3, he could even fight for the first place and beat Xikongsheng from the Floating Mountain Martial School. Xikongsheng has inherited the bloodline of the Tsang King, which means that he has a huge potential. However, in front of absolute power, even the king's bloodline would have to be defeated. This is great. The teenager with the unrestrained temperament laughed. "Leader, masters, you have to keep this a secret. I want to take the first place unexpectedly in the Hidden Dragon rank competition, and show the power of our Sky Falling Martial School." Of course. All of us here are core masters of our Sky Falling Martial School. We will definitely keep this a secret for you. You should not let your guard down. Take this opportunity to get familiar with the 11th level of the Sky Falling Great Art, and try to use its power to its limit. Also, if you can get the first place this time, the position of the leader of the Sky Falling Martial School will be yours for sure. The leader of the Sky Falling Martial School said. "Alright, the first place of the Hidden Dragon rank is mine for sure." The teenager was full of spirit and ambition. The Ice Extreme Martial School was located in the middle of thousands of miles of ice mountains. There were white mountains, white water, and white sky everywhere. Inside the magnificent ice mountains, there was a palace that was built completely out of ice. Bing Ling, although our Ice Extreme Martial School does not like to fight, but the competition of the Hidden Dragon rank is not only about the ranking. It is also a place to fight for luck. No matter if it is personal luck or the luck of our martial school, we have to fight for it. This time, I want you to get into the top 3 of the Hidden Dragon rank. The middle-aged lady said coldly. In the middle of the palace, the cold-looking lady in white nodded and said, "Leader, don't worry. I, Bing Ling, will either not fight for it, or I will fight for the first place, and win the endless luck for our martial school." Good. Then, I will not worry anymore. Chapter 240. Half a month later, Yi Chen had finally made it through the northern part of the Black Dragon Empire and arrived at the land between the 3 countries. This land was vast, and the mountains were ancient and steep. In the beginning, Yi Chen did not notice anything different. But as he got deeper, he realized that there was an ancient chi being emitted from this land. It seemed to be able to reverse the yin and yang, messing up the fate of the world. The hidden dragon ancient place has existed since the ancient times. It is said that it has suppressed 72 dragon veins, and among them, the Earth Chi dragon vein under the hidden dragon ancient city is the most powerful one. It controls the flow of the Earth Chi in the whole South Rudra region. Now that I see it, it is indeed extraordinary. It is no weaker than all the ancient inheritance places in the whole South Rudra region. In some aspects, it might even be more powerful. But why do those inheritance places no longer exist in the world? Why does the hidden dragon ancient place still exist? Yi Chen was shocked by this vast land. His soul power spread out, and he felt like he could hear the roars of dragons. It was as if his soul was about to be shattered. Entering the hidden dragon ancient place, there were more and more warriors passing by. A lot of them were flying while discussing in a low voice, sounding very respectful. The hidden dragon ancient place is not something that any country in the whole South Rudra region can take over. In the history, there was a super country that wanted to build a capital in the hidden dragon ancient place, gathering all of the luck in the whole South Rudra region. But in only 72 days, the capital was destroyed, and all of the royal family members had died. Since then, no one has tried to take over the hidden dragon ancient place. Even the life and death realm warriors are afraid of this place. The hidden dragon ancient place is a place of luck, but it is also a place of death. According to the ancient records, a lot of life and death realm warriors have been killed there, including an unbeatable king warrior who had been titled emperor level. It had even killed a lot of foreign race king warriors who wanted to get their hands on the hidden dragon ancient place. 20 years ago, it was not like the leader of the Nine Ghost cult did not have any ideas about the hidden dragon ancient place. But, as you all know, the whole Nine Ghost cult was completely destroyed. Even the leader of the Nine Ghost cult was being chased by Xianhou and the Dragon King. 20 years ago, Xianhou was still very young, and did not have much power. Although the Dragon King was an experienced king warrior, he would not have much chance of winning in a one-on-one battle. Normally, even if the two of them combined forces, they would not be able to kill the leader of the Nine Ghost cult, since the battles between life and death realm warriors were not normal, and there would not be any deaths. Even if the leader of the Nine Ghost cult could not win against the two of them, he should still be able to leave safely. I guess he might have been badly wounded in the hidden dragon ancient place, and his power had dropped. These things are hard to explain, and no one knows the details. What is the point of us making wild guesses? No matter how mysterious the hidden dragon ancient place is, it has nothing to do with us. Only the young generation will be able to get the luck from there. We just need to watch. You are right. On the Rising Dragon platform, the luck will be on you. I wonder who else would be able to get the luck from the Earth Chi Dragon Fountain in the whole South Rudra region. Those old guys should be here already. Let's hurry. They were all astral reaching realm warriors, so they were extremely fast. Within a couple of blinks of an eye, they had already left the other warriors far behind. Hearing them, Yi Chen gasped. The hidden dragon ancient place had killed a lot of life and death realm warriors, including an unbeatable king warrior who had been titled emperor level. It had killed all the royal members of a super nation. No one knew if the leader of the Nine Ghost cult was still alive, and the Nine Ghost cult had been destroyed. No matter which one it was, they were all so shocking. This vast land with an ancient chi was no longer normal in Yi Chen's eyes. It was a place where light and darkness interweaved. It was both a place of luck and a place of death. The 72 Dragon Fountain matches the top 72 of the Hidden Dragon rank, fighting for the luck. It seems like the competitions for the Hidden Dragon rank are not just for show. There must be something else that I should not underestimate. A thought flashed through his mind as Yi Chen increased his speed, flying towards the Hidden Dragon ancient city. The Hidden Dragon ancient place was way bigger than any of the three great nations. There were a lot of mountains that were connected together, with no beginning or end. However, in the center of the hidden dragon ancient place, there was a special place. It seemed to be the beginning and the end of the mountains. The long mountains from all directions were like dragons that surrounded this place, sinking into the ground and gathering in the center. In this huge area, an extremely majestic ancient city was sitting on top of it, suppressing the thousands of mountains. It looked extremely ordinary, but it seemed to be extremely noble. This ancient city was indeed the place where the competitions of the Hidden Dragon rank would be held, the Hidden Dragon Ancient City. The history of the Hidden Dragon Ancient City could not be studied anymore. All one knew was that it had existed for a very long time, since the ancient era. It had been standing for countless years. In this place, even the life and death realm warriors would have to be respectful, not daring to do anything that would affect the luck. On the vast plain outside the south gate of the Hidden Dragon Ancient City, millions of warriors had gathered. It was a sea of people, covering the whole mountain. The martial institutions that had arrived early had already built some simple buildings on the plain for their disciples to live in. As for the lone warriors, they did not care so much, they just sat on the ground with their legs crossed and started to cook food over the bonfires. They would call their friends from time to time, making all kinds of noises. The people from the Sky Cloud Martial School had arrived not too early, but not too late either. A couple of inner masters had built 7 to 8 wooden houses on a small hill 10 miles away from the south gate. Outside the wooden houses, Lu Hanshan looked into the distance. He could not help but yell, "So many people, and all of them are clasping Yuan Realm warriors. Millions of clasping Yuan Realm warriors, it is indeed unimaginable. Even the clouds in the sky have been pushed away." Zhu Mei stood on the side, looking up at the sky. Millions of Zhen Qi vibrations had combined together. Although they were all contained and did not release it on purpose, those vibrations were still extremely horrifying. If a life and death realm warrior did not use any special skills, facing so many clasping Yuan realm warriors, he would still be killed. But of course, life and death realm warriors were not stupid, they could leave whenever they wanted, and no one would be able to stop them. Su Jing's expression was as cold as always, she did not say anything. Luo Xinglia walked out of the wooden house and said, "The Hidden Dragon rank competition is related to the fortune of our Sky Cloud Martial School. Entering the city is a fortune, don't disappoint me." "Yes, leader." The three nodded seriously. In the next couple of days, a large number of martial institutions had been arriving every day. Because of the overwhelming number of people, the area around the south gate was almost packed. These martial institutions had no choice but to get rid of some lone warriors and occupy a large area to build houses for their disciples to live in. "Look, it is Wei Renjie, who was ranked 37th in the last Hidden Dragon rank. His blade art is very powerful, I heard that his blade intent has already reached the entry level. Qi Xiaofeng, who was ranked 38th in the Hidden Dragon rank, is also here. There is also Lin Wuqing, the child demon, who was ranked 45th. He had beaten a couple of clasping Yuan realm warriors when he was only at the peak level late condensing reality realm. Now that he has reached the early clasping Yuan realm, I wonder how powerful he has become. I think even the young warriors at the mid-clasping Yuan realm would not dare to say that they could win against him." Hearing the people's discussions, Luo Hanshan and Zhu Mei suddenly became nervous. Before they came here, they thought that with their current cultivation, they could at least compete with them, even if they could not get into the top 72. But now, they realized that these people had made even more progress than they had. That Wei Renjie was the most powerful one among all the young warriors they had ever met. His blade intent had actually reached the entry level. Not to mention fighting against him face to face, it would already be amazing if they could not break down when facing his blade intent. Qi Xiaofeng and Lin Wuqing were both powerful warriors. One was extremely talented, while the other was a regular warrior who had challenged people with higher cultivation than him. Glancing at Su Jing, who didn't show any reaction, Luo Hanshan sighed in his head and thought, there is always someone better than you out there. Yi Chen, I wonder what level you have reached now. Shaking his head, Luo Hanshan gave a bitter smile. Yi Chen's talent and comprehensive ability were undeniable, but he had started a bit too late after all. Otherwise, he might have been able to reach the top of the hidden dragon rank, even into the top 40 or even the top 30. He was not underestimating Yi Chen, it was just that the young warriors who had made it to the last hidden dragon rank had improved way too fast, way too fast. After all, they were not the only ones who had been improving. Roar! 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 Roars of demonic beasts could be heard from afar. The people from the 6th grade Sunset School are here. And the Sky Meteor Sect, the Heartless Sect, and the Sky Demon Sect. The Fire Spirit Martial School, the Ice Extreme Martial School and the Floating Mountain Martial School are right behind them. All the noises on the plain had disappeared completely, it was dead silent. Rank 6 martial institutions were different from those below Rank 7. Normally, there would be a huge gap between Rank 7 and Rank 6, just like the gap between the Clasping Yuan Realm and the Astral Reaching Realm. It would be a huge gap, and only a powerful warrior could be in charge of it. Each of the 7 Rank 6 martial institutions had a very rich history, which had been accumulated for thousands of years. Among them, the Floating Mountain Martial School was the most powerful one, with a history even longer than the 3 great nations. 2 king warriors had been born in the martial institution, one was the Stone King, and the other was the Tsang King. The area closest to the south gate was a huge open area, which was reserved for the 7 Rank 6 martial institutions. No one dared to go up and fight for it, and no one chose to get close to it either. All kinds of powerful demonic beasts landed on the ground. The people from the 7 Rank 6 martial institutions all jumped down from the backs of the beasts and chose their own spots. The elders of the martial institutions gathered together and discussed in a low voice, while the young warriors stood in the front, which was very eye-catching. The head disciple of the Skyfall Martial School, Lin Yun, glanced at the few of them and sneered. This year's hidden dragon rank would definitely belong to him. Li Daoxian from the Heartless Martial School did not look around, as his sight landed on the south gate of the hidden dragon ancient city. The 2 head disciples of the Sky Demon Martial School, Mo Yan and Murong Qingcheng, exchanged a look. They could see the seriousness in each other's eyes. After 3 years, all of their old rivals' power had reached a very high level. Especially Lin Yun from the Skyfall Martial School, they felt a huge threat. A red halo appeared in Mo Yan's eyes as he stared at Lin Yun. He opened his mouth slowly, the qi on your body is 5 times more powerful than 3 years ago. 5 times. Murong Qingcheng did not say anything. Her head disciple had trained the Sky Demon art, and he had mastered the Sky Demon eyes, which allowed him to observe the power of his opponent's qi. It would not be a lie. The head disciple of the Fire Spirit Martial School, the Fire Spirit Prince, had also noticed the difference in Lin Yun. He sneered, no matter how powerful you are, you will still become my stepping stone. Not far away, the head disciple of the Ice Extreme Martial School was like a block of ice, without any emotion. His white robe was fluttering in the wind, releasing a creepy white qi. Everyone had their own qi, fighting against each other. No one was weaker than the other. If it was someone with a powerful soul power, they might even see some sparks flashing in the air. It was a sign that their qi was fighting against each other. However, this kind of situation was soon broken. A young man with godlike eyes was walking with his hands behind his back. Wherever he went, the Yuan qi would follow behind him. He was like a natural king, with his qi looking down on the whole world. His qi was even more powerful than Lin Yun's. Sikong Sheng. On the plain, someone yelled with a low voice. Chapter 241. Sikong Sheng, almost everyone in the South Rudra region had heard of him. He was the head disciple of the Rank 6 martial institution, the Floating Mountain Martial School, the descendant of the Tsang Emperor, the champion of the last hidden dragon rank. He had reached the peak level late clasping Yuan realm before the age of 20. Any one of his achievements was more than enough to make him stand out from the crowd. Perhaps, he was a little bit weaker than Xianhou, but in the whole true spirit continent, martial geniuses like Xianhou would only appear once in 1,000 years. She would be one of the top martial geniuses in any era. Plus, Xikong Sheng had the bloodline of a king warrior, which gave him a huge potential. It was an advantage that most of the martial geniuses did not have. Once Xikong Sheng got on the stage, he immediately looked like a king warrior of the young generation. Of course, it did not mean that he had already won against everyone else. After all, the king warrior bloodline gave him a natural advantage in terms of aura, and battling was not just about aura. These people are so powerful. They are even a few times more powerful than father. How could a clasping Yuan realm warrior reach such a horrifying level? Are they really clasping Yuan realm warriors? Luo Hanshan's pupils shrunk. In his memory, his father, Luo Xinglia, was also a martial genius in his generation. He was way more powerful than normal peak-level late-clasping Yuan realm martial artists. Together with the leaders of the other 4 martial institutions, they were known as the top 5 clasping Yuan realm martial artists in the Windy Nation. However, compared to Xikong Sheng and the others, he was not even as powerful as the top 30 young martial artists in the last hidden dragon rank. In other words, if Luo Xinglia and the others were allowed to compete on the stage, they would only be guaranteed to be in the top 72. Luo Xinglia's mouth twitched. He thought to himself, what is a genius? This is a real genius. It was so breathtaking that it made people speechless. Compared to it, we were just small loaches. Ha ha ha, uncle, thank you for bringing me to the hidden dragon ancient city. 2 figures suddenly appeared in the sky. One was a middle-aged man, and the other was a young man with a wild aura and a sturdy body. At this moment, the young man was being carried by the middle-aged man and was flying towards them at high speed. Whoosh! The wild young man got rid of the middle-aged man's hand and landed right next to Xikong Sheng and the rest. The middle-aged man smiled and said, "Little Tuoba, you're lucky this time. Next time you get lost, walk back by yourself." Many people could tell that the middle-aged man was an astral reaching expert, and not an ordinary one at that. His cultivation base had obviously reached late astral reaching realm, and he was definitely a top existence among the astral reaching realm. The wild young man was indeed Tuobaku. After he had separated from Yi Chen, he had been on his way while looking for people to fight with. After a couple of days, he had completely lost his way. As for this middle-aged man, he did not know him at all. Back then, he had been fishing, and did not have the aura of an astral-reaching realm warrior. Tuobaku's eyesight was not bad, so he could tell that the middle-aged man was very powerful. Therefore, he wanted to fight with him, but ended up being beaten badly. His whole body was covered in bruises. Luckily, the middle-aged man was only playing with him. Otherwise, he would have been dead by now. Tuobaku casually stood right next to Xikong Sheng and the rest, which instantly attracted the attention of the crowd. Especially those young warriors who were ranked below the top 10, they were glaring at him angrily, using their chi to oppress him. Even they did not stand there, so how could this guy dare to stand in front of them? All of the young warriors' chi was extremely powerful. They all rushed toward Tuobaku like an avalanche, wanting to make him suffer a bit and remember his lesson. So stingy. Isn't it just taking up a spot? Tuobaku laughed out loud. An aura that was completely different from when he met Yi Chen was released from his body. It was like a mountain flood, like a tornado, like a volcano, exploding ferociously. There was even that domineering aura of a king, which was competing with the aura of Xikong Sheng and the rest. The young warriors opened their eyes wide, not daring to believe it. What? Another top young warrior? There is a unique king aura on him. Perhaps he also has a king bloodline. How is this possible? I have never seen him before. Where did he come from? The middle-aged man who had brought Tuabaku over laughed to himself, this Tuaba brat is not simple. His physical defense is shocking. No, it is horrifying. As for whether he has a king bloodline or not, it is hard to tell. He might be the direct descendant of some hidden family. The second disciple of the Sunset Martial School, Qian Yun, frowned. His head disciple was already 24 years old, so he had lost the right to join the competition. The responsibility of fighting for the top 10 had fallen onto his shoulders. He was confident that he would be able to accomplish his goal, and he could even make it to the top. But who would have thought that a powerful opponent would appear along the way, whose chi was no weaker than the rest of the warriors, only slightly weaker than Sikong Sheng. Glancing at the 9th and 10th warriors from the last hidden sky martial school, Qian Yun saw that they were still hesitating, not daring to take a step forward. His heart sank, and he tried his best to suppress his urge, not wanting to be the first one to step forward. He knew that as long as he took a step forward, he would be pressured by the aura of the other young warriors, and he did not have much confidence in dealing with it. Plus, the competition had not even started yet, so there was no need to make everyone angry. Let them be arrogant for a while. Besides 2 or 3 of them, I am not afraid of the rest. Qian Yun tightened his fists. Today was the opening day of the Hidden Dragon Ancient City, and everyone who was supposed to be here had already arrived. However, in a few people's minds, there was still one missing. Why is he not here yet? Although I did not attack him seriously, I might not be able to win against him. Tuabaku thought of Yichen. Murong Qingcheng had the same suspicion as well, but she did not care too much about it. She thought that Tuabaku had been delayed by something. Over at the Sky Cloud Martial School, Yichen is not here. Not good. This year's Hidden Dragon rank competitions are extremely rare. If we miss it this time, there will not be a next time. Luo Xinglia looked worried. The headmaster frowned. Yichen would not break his promise. He said he would definitely come. Right at that moment, a rumbling sound shook the whole area. The south gate of the Hidden Dragon Ancient City had been opened. It was like the gate to the heaven had been opened, which was quite shocking. In front of the south gate, the ground cracked open and moved towards the 2 sides. Then, 3 massive platforms that were miles in size appeared slowly, connected by a chain bridge. The first platform and the chain bridge were connected by 2 rock pillars. The pillars were hollowed out, shining with a blue light. The blue light interweaved with each other and formed a blue light wall, blocking the way into the bridge. On the second platform, there was a strange square palace. It looked like it was made out of crystals, shining with a colorful light. Through the crystal walls, one could see a lot of jade tags hanging in the air. There was nothing on the third platform, which was nothing special. However, between the third platform and the south gate, there was a not-so-big abyss. There were paintings carved on the walls of the abyss. There were flowers, birds, fishes, and insects on the bottom, and real dragons on the top. Besides that, the platform was not at the same height as the south gate, which was about 72 meters higher. In other words, if one wanted to enter the south gate, they would have to jump up from the third platform. There was no other way. The 3 challenges of the Dragon Gate have appeared. I wonder how many people would be able to make it through. Probably not more than 40%. The 3 challenges of the Dragon Gate will automatically adjust the difficulty. It would not be easy to make it through all 3 challenges in a row. As the crowd chatted, all of the young warriors from the South Rudra region who had reached the standard started to move. Their first goal was to make it through the 3 challenges of the Dragon Gate and enter the South Gate. Otherwise, they would not be able to do anything. Shoo! 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 Sikong Sheng and the rest landed on the first platform first, followed by the rest of them. There were more than 2,000 people, which was a horrifying number. Pooh! A huge hole appeared on the blue light wall, and Sikong Sheng made it through. Then, the Fire Spirit Prince, Lin Yun and the rest all made it through as well. They flew towards the second platform along the chain bridge. Leader, we will go first. Since they could not wait for Yi Chen, Luo Hanshan and the other two would have to go through the 3 challenges. Luo Hanshan nodded, looking into the distance. The first challenge was called the Wall Breaking Challenge. That 100-meter wide blue light wall had the defensive power of a peak-level early clasping Yuan realm warrior. Only by making a passable hole on the light wall would one be able to get to the second platform and start the second challenge. Luo Hanshan and Zhu Mei barely made it through. As for Su Jing, she had casually torn open a huge tunnel on the blue light wall. She looked very relaxed. Su Jing is very powerful. Luo Xinglia felt a bit comforted. The fourth master said, Su Jing has always made people feel safe. But where did that brat Yi Chen go? This is so annoying. Shoo! In the distance, a beam of light flew over at an extreme speed. The headmaster unconsciously lifted up his head, his lips trembling. Leader, Yi Chen is here. He is really here. He is here. Luo Xinglia and all of the inner masters of the Sky Cloud Martial School looked over. Pushing his separating shadow flying art to its limit, Yi Chen flashed across the air for over 400 meters, leaving an unimaginable trail in the air. Leader, elders, Yi Chen is late. Landing on the ground, Yi Chen looked a bit apologetic. In the last 2 days, he had increased his speed again and again, but he was still 1 step behind. He wanted to try to get there earlier, but the Hidden Dragon ancient place was way bigger than he had expected. It took him 1 more day to get there. It's good that you are here. Go now. You have already wasted a lot of time. Because of the anxiety, Luo Xinglia and the others did not notice that Yi Chen had reached the late clasping Yuan realm. Yi Chen had also noticed that the 3 challenges had started. He dared not to waste any time. He extended his body and flew towards the first platform. I was wondering what was wrong. Yi Chen has reached the late clasping Yuan realm. Once Yi Chen had left, the fourth master felt relieved. He had discovered a shocking fact. Luo Xinglia and the headmaster looked at each other. They were extremely shocked. Yi Chen was only at the early clasping Yuan realm when he left, but he had reached the late clasping Yuan realm when he came back. Our anticipation was not in vain. With this kind of power, what do we have to worry about? Yeah. With him and Su Jing, our Sky Cloud Martial School will definitely have a great fortune. Don't rush. The speed of passing the 3 challenges will show part of one's power. I would like to see what kind of surprise this brat has in store for us. Although the wall-breaking challenge was the first challenge, it had still stopped over 200 young warriors. They all had bitter looks on their faces as they tried their best to break the blue light wall, hoping to break a hole and get to the second platform. After entering the first platform, Yi Chen did not slow down at all. He rushed straight towards the blue light wall, as if it was nothing. This made some of the young warriors sneer. They wanted to see how Yi Chen would make a fool of himself. What made their blood run cold was that Yi Chen seemed to be able to walk through walls. He went straight through the blue light wall, and did not even try to attack. What the hell? Is his body not a real body? He went straight through. Are my eyes okay? Everyone from the Sky Cloud Martial School was shocked as well. Of course, they were not the only ones who were shocked. A lot of people who were watching also did not notice anything different about Yi Chen before. After all, there were quite a lot of late clasping Yuan realm warriors among the young generation. One more would not make a difference. The only thing that mattered was power. Chapter 242. Leader, with Yi Chen here, we will definitely have a share of the fortune of the Hidden Dragon ancient place, and it will be quite a big one. The headmaster was very happy. The 3 challenges of the Dragon Gate were the preliminary tests to test the contestants' power. Judging from how Yi Chen had passed the first challenge, his power had already reached an immeasurable level. Luo Xinglia laughed out loud. Luckily, we agreed to let him go out to train. Otherwise, how could he have reached this level if he had been training in the school? Training and training both had their own benefits. The advantage of training was that it was stable, and there would not be too many risks and disturbances. The power would increase steadily, which was suitable for most people. However, training was different. There were a lot of uncertainties in training. For example, after seeing the outside world, the warrior's heart might be shaken, or he might be chased and killed without time to train. The scariest thing would be being tricked by others and walking on a path of no return. No matter which one it was, it could kill a real genius and make him disappear into the crowd. Of course, the bigger the risk, the bigger the reward. If one could stay true to himself during the training, set his own principles, and stay true to his own path, and survive in the blood and fire, his mentality and fighting power would both be improved drastically, which would build a solid foundation for his future. Although he knew about the benefits of training, Luo Xinglia was still very surprised by Yi Chen's achievement. He had only been out for about a year. A year was not a long time in the eyes of warriors. Su Jing has passed the second challenge. Hans Han and Zhu Mei might not be able to make it. Right then, the fourth master moved his eyes away from Yi Chen and looked at Luo Hans Han and the other 2. Luo Xinglia forced a smile. The elimination rate of the 3 challenges of the Dragon Gate is very shocking. 3 years ago, 70% of the contestants had been eliminated. I wonder how many people will be eliminated this time. I hope Hans Han and Zhu Mei can make it and try their best to jump onto the South City Gate. Because it was way too hard to get into the top 72 of the Hidden Dragon rank, a lot of martial institutions knew that their disciples had no hope. Therefore, being able to jump onto the South City Gate, which was also the Dragon Gate, would make them very happy. After all, those who could jump onto the Dragon Gate were already considered as elite geniuses among the contestants. In order to fight against these lights, there were only 3 ways. The first way was to dodge the lights with extreme speed, but this method was almost a dead end. The attacking speed of the lights was extremely fast, and only the top geniuses were able to dodge the lights with their speed. No matter what method they used, they would be able to pass through, and the others would not be able to do it. The second way was to use their own defense to fight against the lights, which required the contestant to have trained a very powerful martial art, and to have a very high realm. If the rank of the martial art was too low, then it would be impossible for the contestant to pass through. The third way was to use a very powerful attacking power to blow away the lights, which required the contestant to have trained an extremely powerful martial art, and also to have a very good eyesight, being able to see in all directions. If they were even slightly careless, then they might be hit by the lights. The second way was to use their own defense to fight against the lights, which required the contestant to have trained an extremely powerful martial art, and also to have a very good eyesight, being able to see in all directions. If they were even slightly careless, then they might be hit by the lights. Except for the first method, the second and the third method were used by most of the contestants, including Luo Hanshan and Zhu Mei. Luo Hanshan did not waste the past year. After he came back from the Heaven Dream Ancient region, he had started training the mid-rank Earth Realm Great Rudra God Art. Under normal circumstances, it would already be quite good if he could reach the 6th level within a year. However, Luo Xinglia had trained the Great Rudra God Art to the 10th level after all, and he had recorded the experiences of every breakthrough. Added with his careful guidance, Luo Hanshan had broken into the 8th level before the Hidden Dragon rank started. The quality and quantity of his Jin Qi was way better than the 9th level of the Purple Qi spell. As for Zhu Mei, she had been cultivating a mid-rank Earth Realm martial art, and with the help of an inner elder who had been cultivating this martial art, she had managed to break into the 9th level of this martial art. She was obviously more talented than Luo Hanshan, and was only second to Yi Chen. The two of them had fully activated their protective Shen Qi to defend themselves against the attacks of those colorful lights. However, it was still not enough. Those colorful lights were very dense, and obviously, their protective Shen Qi would not be able to withstand it. Therefore, they needed to use attacks to break those colorful lights and relieve some pressure on their protective Shen Qi. Finally, the two of them reached out their hands and took down a jade tag that was hanging in the air, then flew towards the back of the palace with extreme difficulty. Once the two of them had left, Yi Chen walked in. Not too dense, but there are a lot of loopholes. With only a single glance, Yi Chen had seen through those colorful lights. He didn't slow down at all, instead, his body lengthened, and his target was those jade tags that were tied up by ropes. Who is this guy? He is way too arrogant. He wants to take the jade tag as soon as he comes in. Indeed, although he is a late clasping Yuan realm warrior, he would still fall down if he is hit by dozens of colorful lights. Indeed, a late clasping Yuan realm warrior was too careless. He thought that it would not be a problem for him, and ended up being hit by dozens of colorful lights. The good thing is that those colorful lights are special, they won't hurt any of the contestants. Otherwise, this place would have been covered in blood and piles of bones. The second challenge was not easy at all. Hundreds of contestants had been completely suppressed by those colorful lights, and couldn't move even an inch. Seeing Yi Chen rushing in without caring about anything else, they were all waiting to see him make a fool out of himself, in order to satisfy their frustration of not being able to move even an inch forward. Boom! 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 The colorful lights were attacking at an extremely fast speed. Some places were relatively thin, while some places were terrifyingly dense. They interweaved into a despairing sky net. Of course, there was a pattern to it as well. For example, after a certain place had been attacked for a while, it would slow down in the next second, and become a temporary safe zone. Many contestants before had relied on this pattern to get their jade tags and passed the second challenge. However, for those contestants who were not as observant and had a weak mentality, it was quite difficult. Some of them had clearly found the pattern, but because they couldn't handle the pressure, they made mistakes in their calculations, and were knocked out by the colorful lights. In the sky net formed by the colorful lights, Yi Chen's figure was like a dream, moving back and forth. Every time people thought that the colorful lights had hit him, they would only find out that they had only hit an afterimage left behind by the colorful lights. In other words, even under the colorful lights, Yi Chen was still moving at an extremely fast speed. Under the strong visual impact, the contestants nearby had an illusion that the colorful lights had slowed down. Ah! A contestant's protective Shen Qi had been shattered, and he had been knocked out completely. He was indeed one of the contestants who had thought that the colorful lights had slowed down. The others were alerted. It was not because the colorful lights had slowed down. It was obviously because Yi Chen's speed was way too fast and weird. It had caused the colorful lights to follow him closely, but could not hit him at all. With the jade tag in his hand, Yi Chen's body flashed once, passing through the gaps of the sky net formed by the colorful lights and landing on the second cable bridge. Damn! How could this be? I don't think I have seen him before. I have not seen him either. I think he is a new young warrior. This year's Hidden Dragon rank competition is indeed the most exciting one in the past 1,000 years. There are already a lot of old martial geniuses, and there are even more new ones. Judging from that guy's power, he should be able to at least be in the top 30. Maybe even the top 20. As for the top 10, I don't think there is much hope. Just look at Xikong Sheng and the rest of them, they are all like monsters. Stop talking. Let's get through this challenge first. The third challenge is the Jumping Dragon Gate, which is the hardest. Maybe we can go there and join in the fun. The cable bridge was miles long. Within a couple of blinks of an eye, Yi Chen had landed on the third platform. Right now, there were already 700 to 800 people gathered on this platform. Lu Hanshan, Zhu Mei and Su Jing were standing at the back, quietly watching the others jumping towards the south city gate. Yi Chen, you are here. Lu Hanshan turned around and was overjoyed. Zhu Mei and Su Jing had also turned around. Yi Chen laughed, I was a bit late. Luckily, I made it. I thought you would miss this year's competition. What a shame. Lu Hanshan was quite similar to Luo Xingnia. He was not jealous of other people who were more powerful than him at all. For him, the better rank Yi Chen got, the happier he would be. After all, the competitions of the Hidden Dragon rank were closely related to the luck of the martial institutions and individuals. The higher the rank, the smoother the development of the martial institutions would be. What kind of cultivation have you reached? Zhu Mei realized that she could not see through Yi Chen at all, so she asked. Yi Chen answered, late clasping Yuan realm. Gasp. The two gasped. They thought that they had already shortened the gap between them, but it seemed that the gap was getting bigger and bigger. Yi Chen's talent was no weaker than anyone in the South Rudra region. If it were not for the fact that he had cultivated for such a short time, it would not be impossible for him to reach the top 10. Su Jing was also a bit surprised. There were not many things that could surprise her, and Yi Chen was one of them. Moreover, he had surprised her more than once. Seriously speaking, she was the first one who noticed Yi Chen's talent, and she knew him the best. But of course, it was only relatively speaking. In fact, she did not know much about Yi Chen either. He was like a person who was shrouded in a dense fog that no one could see or touch. Compared to the top 10 young warriors, Yi Chen's aura did not have that kind of arrogant aura. Instead, he had a kind of sharpness that could cut through everything. Su Jing, long time no see. Yi Chen glanced at Su Jing, and the more he looked, the more shocked he became. Inside her body, there was a huge amount of Zhen Qi. No, it should not be Zhen Qi, it was a kind of Qi that had been combined with her physical strength. If he had to describe it with one word, it would be Qi power, an extremely horrifying Qi power. After thinking about it carefully, Yi Chen realized why she did not make much progress in her cultivation. It turned out that she had merged all of her Zhen Qi into her physical body to increase her physical strength. In this way, with only her physical strength, she would be able to crush warriors at the same level as her. 50,000 pounds, no, it should be more than 80,000 pounds. Yi Chen also had Qi inside his body, which was jade-colored. Through comparison, he found out that the Qi inside Su Jing's body was more than twice as much as his own. It was golden in color, without any impurities. In terms of quality, it was even better than his own jade-colored Qi. Combining the two, both the quantity and the quality of her Qi were far greater than his own. It seems like Su Jing has made much more progress than Luo Hanshan and Zhu Mei, and she has been improving her physical strength. I wonder what her peak power is like. Yi Chen thought to himself. Su Jing did not know that within such a short period of time, countless thoughts had flashed through Yi Chen's mind. All of her attention was focused on what was in front of her. The Dragon Gate leap was the most difficult one among the three challenges. The gravity in the abyss was even more terrifying than the abyss in the martial city. Apart from this, the warriors would be able to hear the roars of countless evil creatures coming from the abyss. Shoo! Someone had made it onto the top. It was the demon child, Lin Wuqing. His body slightly flashed in the air before he entered the south city gate steadily. As for the warriors who were ranked at the top, they were all standing on the top, looking down at the people below, including Xikongsheng, the fire spirit prince, and Lin Yun. Every time they saw someone who could not handle the gravity and was pushed to the side by the Qi flow from the abyss, those who had made it onto the top would show their disdain. Chapter 243. The platform was very big, and there were dozens of people leaping towards the south gate at every moment. However, only 1/3 of them could succeed, and most of them started to fall halfway. There were also a few people who were only a few meters away from the south gate, and unfortunately, they fell down. It was a pity that everyone felt sorry for them. You can't even make it to the south gate, and you still want to join the competition? On the south gate, someone sneered. Soon, it was Yi Chen's and the others' turn. I'll go first. Lu Hanzhan took a deep breath, pushed his great Luozhen Qi to its limit, took a few steps forward, then leapt into the air, shooting towards the south gate like an arrow. The red light left a trace in the air, and soon, Lu Hanzhan was less than 20 meters away from the south gate. At this moment, an invisible gravitational force burst out from the bottom of the abyss, dragging Lu Hanzhan's body. Right after that, countless roars of evil beasts could be heard, piercing into his ears and disturbing his mind. Ah! No! Lu Hanzhan's face twisted. His Jin Qi slowed down, and his whole body fell down from the air. In the end, he was pushed to the side by the airflow in the abyss, and was disqualified from the competition. Seeing Lu Hanzhan fail, Zhu Mei's face turned serious. She pushed her Jin Qi to its limit, releasing a sharp Jin Qi from her body. She flew towards the south gate with a pair of cold eyes. On the way, her body shook intensely, but she finally made it to the top. She had successfully jumped through the dragon gate. Shoo! As soon as Zhu Mei went up, Su Jing also went up. She didn't stop even for a second, as if the invisible gravitational force and the roars of the evil beasts didn't affect her at all. This girl is not bad. I wonder which martial institution she is from, but she is qualified to be my concubine. The head disciple of the Sky Falling Martial School, Lin Yun, looked at Su Jing with a judgmental look. Although Su Jing didn't have a devastatingly beautiful appearance, nor did she have a temperament that could bring calamity to a country, she was definitely a rare beauty. Her bright eyes and slim body gave people a sense of heroism, but also a sense of elegance. Other than those who were ranked at the very top, everyone else treated Su Jing as their greatest enemy. The Dragon Gate Leap was the last of the 3 challenges of the Dragon Gate, and it was also the most difficult one. It was not rare to pass it, but it was rare to pass it without any pressure. At least until now, there were less than 50 people who could pass it easily. The others more or less struggled, and some almost failed. Yi Chen wasn't surprised that Su Jing had passed. With a sway of his body, he also arrived at the south gate. His speed was even faster than Su Jing's. An expert, an absolute expert, someone exclaimed in a low voice. There are hidden dragons and crouching tigers in this year's competition. I didn't expect there to be such an expert. I haven't heard anything about him before. Humph, leaping through the dragon's gate doesn't mean anything. A battle isn't something that can be resolved by leaping through the dragon's gate. Only strength is fundamental. There were also people who were unconvinced. Murong Qingcheng and Qi Xiaofeng let out a slight gasp. They could obviously tell that Yi Chen had become much more powerful than before. It seemed that after they separated, Yi Chen had improved once again, and this time, he had improved tremendously. At least, he could threaten the top 30 contestants of the last Dragon Gate now. Long time no see. Murong Qingcheng gave a faint smile. Last time, if Yi Chen hadn't shown up in time, she and Qi Xiaofeng wouldn't have been able to make it here. Now that they met again, it would be too rude of her not to greet him. It wasn't her style. Yi Chen grinned and said, "It seems like you've improved a lot." "So have you." Murong Qingcheng said in an easygoing tone. The two of them walked quite close to each other, chatting with each other. Their actions instantly attracted a lot of gazes, which contained admiration, confusion, and even more jealousy. Who was Murong Qingcheng? She was the second disciple of the Rank 6 martial institution, the Sky Flying Devil Martial School, and one of the top 2 beauties of the Black Dragon Empire. She had both talent and beauty, and was the most perfect partner in the eyes of many warriors. Normally, it would be great to talk to her, and no one would dare to have too much hope. If it had always been like this, it would have been fine. After all, if they couldn't have her, no one could have her. But now, Murong Qingcheng and Yi Chen were walking so close to each other, and they even seemed to be a bit intimate, which was a huge blow to their self-esteem. They couldn't help but think to themselves, this brat is not as talented as Sikong Sheng and the other warriors, and he is not that handsome either. What right does he have to walk together with Murong Qingcheng? Yi Chen seems to know Murong Qingcheng, Zhu Mei said to Su Jing. Su Jing nodded and did not say anything. Zhu Mei sighed, it is getting more and more difficult to see through Yi Chen. He has been out training for more than a year, and I wonder what kind of experiences he has had. Even Murong Qingcheng has some connections with him. She had been living in the Windy Nation for a long time, and was the pride of the Sky Cloud Martial School. However, she still knew herself. No matter if it was appearance, temperament, or talent, Murong Qingcheng was way more powerful than her. Plus, her status was way beyond hers. Therefore, in her imagination, Yi Chen, who had the same status as her, would not have any connections with these people. Lin Yun and Mo Yen had a cold look on their faces. As the head disciple of the Rank 6 Martial School, the Skyfall Martial School, Lin Yun thought that he was the most talented one. Even Sikong Sheng might not be able to beat him. His biggest advantage was his king bloodline. All the women that he had his eyes on were all extremely talented and beautiful. Plus, he had already ranked them in his mind. For example, Su Jing was top rank, and could be his concubine. Murong Qingcheng was naturally top rank, and would be his woman in the future. If it were Sikong Sheng who was talking to Murong Qingcheng, he might not be this annoyed, since it was a fair competition. But who was Yi Chen? He did not know him at all, and he only had a bit of power. What gave him the right to talk to his woman? Mo Yen was different from Lin Yun. He and Murong Qingcheng were both disciples of the Sky Demon Martial School. They were not really close, but they were not strangers either. All this time, he had always treated Murong Qingcheng as his woman, and thought that the others would not have any chance at all. What made him happy was that Murong Qingcheng had never had too many interactions with anyone, including the princes of the Black Dragon Empire. However, today, Murong Qingcheng was talking to someone he had never seen before, and her tone seemed to be even better than him, the head disciple. A strange sense of danger appeared in his heart, and he started to hate Yi Chen. Qingcheng, who is this guy? Why don't you introduce us? Lin Yun revealed a warm smile to Murong Qingcheng. He then glanced at Yi Chen, which was as sharp as a blade. Murong Qingcheng said lightly, just a friend. You do not need to get to know him. Is that so? The poetic perspective of the sky falling great art was poured into his eyes. Lin Yun looked at Yi Chen with a big smile on his face. His eyes were like shooting stars falling onto the ground, ready to destroy everything. You are finally here. Oh right, I still do not know your name. Tua Baku stood between Lin Yun and Yi Chen as he said with a smile. Yi Chen said, Yi Chen. My name is Tua Baku. If there is a chance, let's have a drink together. Tua Baku had taken over Yi Chen, and even Murong Qingcheng was blocked out. Maybe for him, politeness did not matter at all. Talking to someone he was interested in was the happiest thing for him. Murong Qingcheng did not mind it at all. She smiled and went back to where she was standing. Ha! Not being able to trick Yi Chen, Lin Yun thought to himself, count yourself lucky. Don't ever run into me in the competition. Otherwise, you will lose all your face. Zhu Mei opened her eyes wide, no way. He knows Yi Chen as well. But how come he does not even know Yi Chen's name? Tua Baku's power was obvious to everyone. He was able to compete with Sikong Sheng and the rest. Although it was just his aura, it had already proved his power. Brother Yi, I knew it. You will definitely come to the competition. Yi Chen, it has been a year, and you have grown even more powerful. Yi Chen, I did not expect you to know the second night as well. Tian Hao, the disciple of the alchemist martial school, Lin Yu, the disciple of the dragon Tiger Mountain, the fourth knight and the sixth knight from the Moon Pavilion all approached Yi Chen. They were all his old friends. This scene had shocked a lot of people. Who is this brat? It seems like a lot of people know him. It is indeed unexpected. Perhaps he is a hidden warrior. We should not underestimate him. Tian Hao was Meng Chao's junior disciple, and was quite powerful. Lin Yu was ranked 70th in the last Hidden Dragon competition, and had improved a lot by now. He was one of the most popular contestants for the top 72. As for the latter two, although they didn't know them, judging from their Zhenqi vibration and the sense of power they released, they were obviously not ordinary young warriors, and they also had a chance to get into the top 72. So many people knew Yi Chen, and seemed to be quite close to him, which was quite surprising. It also meant that Yi Chen was not as simple as he looked. After all, geniuses usually made friends with other geniuses, and rarely made friends with ordinary people. A bunch of ants. Lin Yun said with disdain. Xikong Sheng and the rest of the people did not even look at Yi Chen. If it were not for Murong Qingcheng, Lin Yun and Mo Yan would not pay attention to Yi Chen either. They were a group of people who were high above the masses. No matter their status, talent, or comprehensive ability, they were all above the others. In their eyes, Yi Chen and the rest of the people were indeed ants. Perhaps they still had some power right now, but after 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, or even 10 years, the gap between them would only get bigger and bigger. In the true spirit continent, the gap between martial geniuses was way bigger than one could imagine. Some martial geniuses would stop at the clasping Yuan realm, while some would stop at the astral reaching realm. Only a small part of them would be able to reach the seas of Soul's realm. Without any surprises, they would all reach that realm, and even have the chance to reach the life and death realm. But what about Yi Chen and the rest of them? Being able to reach the late astral reaching realm would already be their limit, and they would not be able to catch their attention at all. As he was talking to the crowd, Yi Chen glanced at Lin Yun. His subtle movements were not hidden from him at all. If it were not for Tuo Baku's timely appearance, he would not mind competing with his eyesight first. The poetic perspective of the Lone Peak kill and the sky-shattering clouds had been trained to an extreme by him, and he had never used all of his power before. He had hidden his 70% sword intent even more, because once he released it, it would hurt innocent people. Gradually, there were less and less people making it to the top of the dragon door. There were only a few of them left. Some of them did not have much confidence and were trying to figure out a way, while some of them were waiting for the others to make their moves and calculate their own success rate. Regardless, making it to the top of the dragon door was their biggest goal. If they could not even make it, it would be a huge blow. As time went on, the last person had made his move. It was a failure. Clatter. The 3 challenges of the dragon door sank down, and the cracked ground started to close up in the middle. The South City gate was tightly shut, locking the young generation inside. Then, the side doors on both sides of the city gate opened up, which was the entrance for the rest of the people. Chapter 244. The South City gate was the Dragon's Gate. Only the younger generation who had leapt onto the Dragon's Gate could pass through. The others had to enter through the side doors on both sides, including the experts of the 7 rank 6 sections. The city gate was closed, and the young generation in the city were qualified to participate in the knockout competition. The young generation who did not pass the 3 tests of the Dragon's Gate had lost their qualification and were reduced to spectators. Yi Chen estimated that there were around 700 people who had passed the 3 trials. This was less than 30% of the total number of people who had come. This was a frightening elimination rate. As for the young generation of the Windy Nation who had gone to this place, quite a lot of them had passed the test, including young Master Emerald, Zhuang Fei, young Master North Snow, young Master Su Wan, Fast Blade Lynch, Fairy Lotus, Qin Yulian, Yi Chen, Su Jing, and Zhu Mei. There were a total of 15 participants from the Windy Nation. 13 of them were disciples from the top 5 martial institutions, and the other 2 were young Master Duanmu from the Duanmu family and the head disciple from a rank 9 institution. 7 out of the 15 participants had made it to the Dragon Gate, which was unimaginable. Among the 36 small nations, some of them only had 1 disciple who had made it to the Dragon Gate, and the lucky ones only had 2 or 3. Even the Rudra nation, which was the leader of the 36 small nations, only had 6 disciples who had made it to the Dragon Gate, which was not as good as the Windy nation. This was something that was almost impossible to happen in the past. No matter what, the Windy nation was still in the middle or lower reaches of the 36 small nations, which was at the bottom. Of course, among the 7 people from the Windy nation who had passed the 3 challenges, the Sky Cloud Martial School had taken 3 of them, which was the main reason why the Windy nation was so outstanding. In the last Hidden Dragon rank competitions, only the young Master Emerald from the Windy nation had made it into the top 72. Whether he could make it into the top 72 was still unknown, since a lot of people from the last Hidden Dragon rank competitions had not grown up yet. Now, after 3 years of training, their power had already reached a horrifying level, which had surpassed many of the older martial geniuses. Yi Chen was a living example, and so was Lynch from the North Snow Martial Academy. There were so many martial geniuses who had grown up from other nations. All in all, this year's Hidden Dragon rank competitions were full of uncertainties. No one could make a decision until the last moment. Damn it! How could he improve so fast? How could he reach the late clasping Yuan realm in just 1 year? In the crowd, Yuan Hengying had a bad look on his face. As the head disciple of the Sky Eagle Castle Martial School, Yuan Hengying had never lost to anyone. It was normal for him to lose the last Hidden Dragon rank competitions, since he did not think that he had the power to be the champion. But among the 9 nations, there were not many people who could scare him. Normally, it was people who were scared of him, which made him feel so good. Until he met Yi Chen. He thought that he was just a prey, but he did not expect that this prey would be so powerful. Even if he and Zhuang Fei joined hands, they would still not be able to beat him and were badly wounded. Since then, Yuan Hengying had been training like crazy. He planned to reach the mid-clasping Yuan realm within a short period of time, and then find Yi Chen to make him pay. With the support and spending of all the resources from the Sky Eagle Castle Martial School, Yuan Hengying had reached the mid-clasping Yuan realm 2 months ago. Added with the few powerful martial skills that he had learned, he thought that he could beat Yi Chen, humiliate him and torture him. On the South City Gate, just when he was feeling proud of himself, Yi Chen attacked him again. He could not understand how Yi Chen had improved his cultivation. Even if he had been taking pellets every day, it would still be impossible for him to improve so fast, not to mention the side effects of taking pellets. He must have used some great treasures to improve his cultivation, which is why his foundation is not stable. Although my cultivation is still 1 level lower than his, I have improved a lot in other aspects. My attacking power is more than 2 times more powerful than when I was in the Heaven Dream Ancient Place. Since he could not figure it out, Yuan Hengying thought that Yi Chen did not get his cultivation by himself, and that he might have a chance to beat him. After looking around for a while, Yi Chen's eyes focused on the rows of walls on both sides. There were some strange carvings on the walls, which were all strange paintings. The content of each mural was similar. Below, there were martial artists and demons with the strength to uproot mountains and overturn rivers and seas. They were terrifyingly strong. However, in the sky, there was a humanoid figure with its arms spread open. Chains descended from the void and bound the bodies of the martial artists and demons. Ancient cities are completely different from modern cities. I wonder what these paintings are for. Yi Chen did not understand, so he moved his eyes back. Right then, some people walked in from the side door. Powerful warriors from the 7 rank 6 martial institutions were leading the way, followed by hundreds of rank 7 martial institutions. Behind them were the most common rank 8 and 9 martial institutions. Disciples from the Floating Mountain Martial School, follow me to find a place to live. Disciples from the Fire Spirit Martial School, come out. All the rank 6 martial institutions had more than 1 or 2 people who had passed the 3 challenges of the Dragon Gate. Instead, there were dozens of them, which made up almost 40% of the martial institutions. With so many geniuses, as long as they did not make any mistakes, they would continue to be powerful. If there were 1 or 2 powerful martial geniuses, they might be able to bring their martial institutions to the next level. Compared to them, the martial institutions below rank 7 were much weaker. Many of them were just going through the competition, and there were many rank 7 martial institutions among them. You 3, come with me to find a place to live. Luo Xinglia and the others walked over and said. Zhu Mei asked, Leader, aren't we going to compete today? The headmaster laughed, there are more than millions of warriors out there. We can't just let them watch, can we? Therefore, there is no competition for the first 2 days. We will let all the martial institutions and all the lone warriors choose a place to live. Once everyone is settled, the competition will officially begin. That would work, since the Hidden Dragon Ancient City was empty anyway. There were a lot of buildings, which would be more than enough for everyone to live in. If the competition started right after they arrived, it would be very chaotic, which would cause a negative impact. Yi Chen nodded to himself. He did not know who had made this rule, but it was very humane. The buildings in the Hidden Dragon Ancient City did not belong to anyone. Therefore, if one wanted to choose a place to live, one would have to consider the power and status. Some of the more luxurious buildings would not be something that normal clasping Yuan Realm warriors would dare to touch. Only the astral reaching realm warriors would have the priority. As for the Sky Cloud Martial School, it was a ranked martial institution after all. Warriors below the astral reaching realm would not dare to mess with them. Soon, under Luo Xinglia's lead, everyone had chosen a big yard in the middle of the city. The buildings in the Hidden Dragon Ancient City were simple but elegant. Inside the building, it was not as broken as they had imagined. Instead, it had an ancient feel to it, and the furniture was very clean. After slightly cleaning the room, Yi Chen stopped. Walking out of the room, Yi Chen saw Luo Hanshan. Luo Hanshan had lost the right to join the competition, but as a clasping Yuan Realm warrior, he still had the right to enter the Hidden Dragon Ancient City to watch the competition. Brother Luo, are you alright? Yi Chen did not know how to address Luo Hanshan. In terms of power, he should call him Brother Luo, but it did not feel right, and it would make him feel like an outsider. If he called him Luo Hanshan, it would sound a bit mushy and inappropriate, and calling him Luo Hanshan would still make him feel like an outsider. In the end, he decided to call him Brother Luo, since there were no outsiders here anyway, and he was older than him. Luo Hanshan forced a smile and said, It's alright. It's my own problem that I couldn't make it to the Dragon Gate. The world rewards the diligent. Speaking of which, when I reached the clasping Yuan realm, I was not as hardworking as before. Therefore, this is a lesson that I will never forget. Yi Chen secretly sighed. In fact, if Luo Hanshan had made it to the Dragon Gate, he might have been able to beat a couple of martial geniuses who were at the same level as him, which would help him train himself. Unfortunately, he had failed at the last step, as he had not been able to block out the evil sound. Otherwise, the gravity of the abyss would not have dragged him down all of a sudden. If he missed this opportunity, Luo Hanshan would not have the chance to join the next competition, since he was already too old. Let's go out for a walk. This is my first time coming to the Hidden Dragon Ancient City. Luo Hanshan said. All right. Yi Chen nodded. The Hidden Dragon Ancient City was huge. If a family of 4 people lived in it, it would be able to accommodate tens of millions of people. However, all the martial artists who came here were above the clasping Yuan realm, and none of them liked to live in the same house with others. Therefore, basically, each of them had their own building, and those who were close to each other would live in the same yard. Correspondingly, the roads in the Hidden Dragon ancient city were very wide. At first glance, it was at least hundreds of meters wide. The ground was paved with gray ancient stones, which were perfectly square. If one looked carefully, one would be able to see some patterns carved on them. The two walked on the road side by side, sighing at the ancient buildings. Life and Death Realm warriors can live for 1,000 years, which means they have experienced 10 lifetimes for normal people. This ancient city has been standing for at least hundreds of thousands of years, much older than Life and Death Realm warriors. Sensing the ancient qi coming from the buildings, Luo Hanshan could not help but say. Yi Chen said, everyone will die one day, unless they have surpassed life and death. This sentence was said unintentionally, but it made Yi Chen confused. Is there a realm above the life and death realm? There were a lot of clasping Yuan realm warriors walking on the road. Suddenly, a loud noise came from the crossroad in front of them. Damn! My attacking power is only 42, how is this possible? Mine is only 43, let's try again. Hee, mine is more than 50. Yi Chen was a bit curious, he said to Luo Hanshan, let's go check it out. There were a lot of people at the crossroad. The two squeezed into the crowd and found a stone pillar standing in the middle of the crossroad. It was 1 meter tall and 3 feet wide. A thin crystal piece was stuck on the bottom half of the stone pillar, which was deeply embedded in the stone pillar. There were 8 rows of crystal stones on the top of the stone pillar, 10 crystals in each row. Earlier, a clasping Yuan realm warrior had hit the crystal on the bottom, and the crystals on the top had lit up. 53 crystals had lit up in total, and the highest was 80. Is this to test the attacking power? Luo Hanshan was surprised. Yi Chen's observation was even more detailed than Luo Hanshan's. He found that early clasping Yuan realm warriors could barely get more than 50 crystals, and late clasping Yuan realm warriors could get between 50 and 60 crystals. In other words, these crystals corresponded to the levels of the warriors. The first and second rows were for mortal realm warriors, the third and fourth rows were for condensing reality realm warriors, the fifth and sixth rows were for clasping Yuan realm warriors, and the seventh and eighth rows were for astral reaching realm warriors. Let me try. A young warrior walked up to the stone pillar. Boom! As he kicked on the crystal piece, more than half of the crystals on it lit up. 54 crystals. He is only a mid-clasping Yuan realm warrior, isn't he? His attacking power is even higher than that late-clasping Yuan realm warrior. If 60 crystals were the limit of a clasping Yuan realm warrior, then 54 crystals were already a very high attacking power, not to mention that he was only a mid-clasping Yuan realm warrior. Luo Hanshan couldn't help but go up and try, and the result was 45 crystals, which was quite normal. I didn't expect that there would be an attacking power testing pillar here, let's just play around. Another young warrior walked up, and someone recognized him. He was Qian Yun, the second disciple of the rank 6 martial institution, the Sunset Martial School, one of the most popular contestants for the top 10 this time. Boom! The crystal pieces lit up, 60 crystals, full value. The 60th crystal shone for a long time, and finally turned red, which meant that his attacking power had already surpassed 60 crystals, but was still not at the level of 61 crystals. Chapter 245. The attacking power is as high as 60, and the color of the 60th crystal stone has turned red. It has definitely reached the first limit of a clasping Yuan realm warrior. Indeed. Although this attacking power testing column is rare and extremely hard to make, some of the top rank 7 martial institutions still have them. The martial city has 3 of them as well. Normally, being able to light up 60 crystal stones is already the maximum value. However, some of the clasping Yuan realm warriors have trained extremely powerful martial arts and martial skills, which means that they have special ways to increase their attacking power. Therefore, when they were making the testing column, they had purposely done something on the last crystal stone of every 2 rows, allowing it to shine with 3 colors. The first color is red, which means that the warrior's attacking power has already surpassed most of the peak-level late-class Bing Yuan Realm warriors, and would be able to compete with the rank 6 tyrant beasts. The second color is purple, which means that the warrior would be able to kill the rank 6 tyrant beasts without too much difficulty. The third color is black. I heard that in the whole South Rudra region, there are less than 10 class Bing Yuan Realm warriors who could make the 60th crystal stone shine black, which means that they would be able to kill the rank 6 tyrant beasts within seconds. They are the most powerful warriors below the astral reaching realm. Qian Yun's attacking power has reached the level of red, so he would definitely be in the top 10. There should not be too many freaks among the young generation. Yeah, I think so too. The powerful attacking power is too much of an advantage. As long as one gets hit once, the defense would be broken immediately. All of the class Bing Yuan Realm warriors were discussing, looking at Qian Yun with admiration in their eyes. Qian Yun had a smile on the corner of his mouth as he crossed his arms in front of his chest. That powerful? I can also reach 60 stones. A young warrior did not believe it. He walked out from the crowd, wanting to get a better result than Qian Yun. A lot of people had recognized him as one of the powerful warriors in the last hidden dragon rank, and he was ranked quite high. Chin. His weapon was a blade. The blade light flashed as he threw a heavy attack onto the crystal stone. The crystal stones lit up row after row. When it reached the 59th stone, it stopped. He was still one stone away from 60, not to mention turning the 60th stone red. Impossible. One more time. Chin. This time, it was not as good as the last time. It was 58 stones. Obviously, he had lost his focus, and his spirit had not been pushed to its limit. 59 is not bad. Anyone who can light up 60 of them is qualified to compete for the top 10 of the hidden dragon rank. No one laughed at him. If it were them, they might not even be able to light up 55 of them. Luo Hanshan said, "Yi Chen, why don't you try?" Yi Chen smiled. His hands were indeed itching. Someone else is up. I wonder how many stars will light up. Probably more than 55. His aura is quite strong. He is not a weakling among the younger generation. Who in the younger generation is a weakling? However, there should be 55 of them. While everyone was talking, Yi Chen walked towards the testing pillar step by step. He did not take out his star scar sword, as he wanted to see how much attacking power he would have without using his sword. Qian Yun had an impression of Yi Chen. When he was climbing the dragon door, his speed was very fast. He should be able to rank in the top 30 or 20. Unfortunately, the attacking power test was different from climbing the dragon door. What was needed was the most powerful attacking power. A bright yellow mountain shadow appeared on Yi Chen's right fist. The shadow was extremely condensed, and eventually shrunk into a ball, shining with bits of gold light. It stuck closely to Yi Chen's fist. It was indeed the third movement of the 5 mountain godly fist art, the 5 mountain one art. Dong! A muffled thunder-like sound was heard. The crystal board had taken such a huge attacking power, but it was not damaged at all. The crystal stones on it lit up row after row, eventually reaching the 60th stone. However, it did not turn red, which was a lot weaker than the head disciple of the Sunset Martial School, Qian Yun. 60 stones. Am I seeing it right? Another one of the young warriors who could reach the top 10. Although it is slightly weaker than Qian Yun, it should not be that bad. I wonder what kind of realm Sikong Sheng and the rest of them would reach. Everyone was very surprised. It was not easy to light up 60 stones. Even a lot of peak-level late-class Bing Yuan realm warriors did not have this kind of attacking power. Yi Chen was also very satisfied. He knew that with only the third movement of the 5 mountain godly fist art, he would not be able to hit 60 stones. But with his almost 50,000 pounds of physical strength, it was not surprising that he could do it. In other words, even if he did not use his sword, he would still be one of the top warriors among the peak-level late-class Bing Yuan realm warriors. Not bad. He is barely qualified to be my opponent. I wonder what his real attacking power is like. Qian Yun was not interested in watching anymore, so he was about to leave. Qian Yun's raised foot was put back down again. His eyes landed on Yi Chen's left hand. No one knew when, but Yi Chen had already taken out his Star Scar sword. He pulled it out, raised it up with one hand, and threw a heavy sword attack onto the crystal board. This sword attack was the combined sword movement, sky-shattering clouds. However, he did not use his sword intent, since the 70% sword intent was one of his ace attacks. There was no need to show it off. The sword pressure was too intense, and there seemed to be lightning flashing through the air. The next second, the 6 rows of crystal stones lit up almost at the same time. Then, the 60th crystal stone shone intensely and turned into a red color. The color was even darker than the one Qian Yun had hit out, almost purple. So he is using a sword. He has actually reached the first limit of a class Bing Yuan realm warrior. He is not far from purple. All of the warriors who were watching were shocked. Alright, let's go. Yi Chen did not want to continue. He put away his Star Scar sword and said to Luo Hanshan. Luo Hanshan forced a smile and said, "You have really shocked me. Besides those extremely powerful martial geniuses, almost no one under the astral reaching realm would be able to beat you." The two walked further and further away. Touching his chin, Qian Yun seemed to be thinking about something. That time, he had almost used 90% of his attacking power. The reason why he did not use 100% of his power was because he did not want the 60th crystal stone to turn purple. He thought that no one here would be able to break this record, but he did not expect it to be broken so soon. Interesting. I hope we can meet in the competition. Then, I will use all of my power to beat you. Glancing at Yi Chen's back, Qian Yun turned around and left. There were a lot of crossroads in the Hidden Dragon ancient city, and there were also a lot of attacking power testing pillars. A lot of people who had never seen it before had gone up to test one by one, including those young warriors who were full of confidence. Scary. The Demon Eyes Mo Yen is indeed worthy of being ranked 8th in the last Hidden Dragon rank. The 60th crystal stone has turned purple. Murong Qingqing is not bad either. It is also purple. Just as I expected, she did not use all of her power in the last competition. The two are both disciples of the Sky Demon Martial School. This time, the Sky Demon Martial School is going to be the winner. Hearing the discussions, Mo Yen did not look proud at all. The Sky Demon Martial School also had some attacking power testing pillars, and he had already tested them, so he was very confident. However, Murong Qingqing's attacking power had surprised him a lot. It seemed like she had indeed had some great experiences outside. Not only had she trained her Sky Demon Great Art to its 10th level, but her Sky Demon palm print had also improved drastically. She was one of his powerful enemies. Murong Qingqing still had her face covered with a light cloth, and no one could see her real face. At the other crossroads, gasps could be heard one after another. The 60th crystal stone has turned purple. The head disciple of the Ice Extreme Martial School, Bing Ling, lives up to her reputation. That fist art must be the top-rank Earth Realm martial skill, the ice-breaking fist, right? I have just come from that crossroad. The head disciple of the Heartless Martial School, Li Daoxian, also got a purple result. Besides that, the Demon Eyes Mo Yen and Murong Qingqing also got the same result. So powerful. I guess the top 10 of this year's Hidden Dragon rank will be these people. The young generation, they are all top warriors. Yeah. I wonder what the others' results are like. Tuabaku got purple. The Fire Spirit Prince, Yan Chihua's result is out. It is black, and it was a casual attack from him. No way. A casual attack from him could reach the third limit of a clasping Yuan realm warrior. He is almost at the astral reaching realm. Lin Yun's casual attack is also black. Too black. Yan Qihua is indeed the fire spirit prince. Lin Yun has also caught up. In the last hidden dragon rank competition, he was ranked 5th. This time, he will definitely make it to the top 3. Oh right, does anyone know about Xikong Sheng's result? I did not see him. The king-level bloodline is not something to be underestimated. Black is for sure. Let's go look for him. On a crossroad close to the center area, all of the Floating Mountain Martial School's disciples who had passed through the 3 challenges had finished their tests, which had shocked all of the warriors watching. Right then, one of the disciples suggested to Xikong Sheng, head disciple, I think those people have all finished their tests. Why don't you show some of your power as well, in case everyone thinks that they can take your throne away? Yeah. Head disciple, show some of your power. Otherwise, they might think that you are scared of them. Xikong Sheng sneered. Besides Yan Qihua and that weird Lin Yun, he did not really care about the others. Even these 2 were only qualified for him to show some of his power. They did not have the power to compete with him. That's good too. I will show them a despairing result. Flicking his sleeves, Xikong Sheng walked towards the test column. All of a sudden, the place became dead silent. Everyone was watching. They wanted to see how powerful Xikong Sheng, who was the champion of the last hidden dragon rank and the descendant of the Tsang King, was. After a while, they would be able to tell from his attacking power. Pap. No one could see how Xikong Sheng had attacked. They could only vaguely see a palm-shaped pattern flash in the air before disappearing. Everyone's attention was focused on the crystal stone. 1 row, 2 rows, 6 rows, 7 rows. 7 rows. The crystal stones had lit up to the 7th row. Although there was only 61 in total, it was the attacking power of an astral-reaching realm warrior. It seemed like Xikong Sheng had not even used all of his power. As for how much power he had used, no one knew. Only Xikong Sheng himself knew. Regardless, the result of 61 crystal stones was enough to shock the whole South Rudra region. It meant that Xikong Sheng had the power to compete with early astral-reaching realm warriors. Like a plague, the news of Xikong Sheng hitting 61 crystal stones spread out like wildfire. 1 to 1, 10 to 10. Within half a day, most of the warriors in the Hidden Dragon Ancient City had heard about it. A lot of powerful young warriors had heard the news and shook their heads with a forced smile. They had not planned to challenge Xikong Sheng in the first place, and now that they had heard about it, they decided not to go even more. Chapter 246. 61 stones, indeed impressive. Inside the yard, Yi Chen, Su Jing, Zhu Mei, and Lu Hanshan were all there, surrounded by 7 or 8 core disciples who hadn't reached the clasping Yuan realm yet. They were here to watch the competition with the leaders of the school. When they heard the news, they immediately came to tell Yi Chen and the other 2. Zhu Mei shook her head and forced a smile. 61 stones is a result only early astral-reaching realm warriors can achieve. I only got 48 stones, and Su Jing got 60 stones. Yi Chen, what about you? Lu Hanshan answered for Yi Chen. Yi Chen got 60 stones when he didn't use his sword, and the last stone he got was red, almost purple. Brother Yi is so powerful. Hearing him, all the core disciples who came to watch the competition were shocked. Although Yi Chen was not as powerful as Xikong Sheng and the others, the Sky Cloud Martial School was a rank 9 institution, which was not as powerful as a rank 6 institution. For a genius like Yi Chen to appear, it was already a miracle, and it was even more exciting. What could be more exciting than breaking the rules? In fact, everyone had the ambition to challenge the authority. Sister Su is also very powerful. She is only at the early clasping Yuan realm, and she already got 60 stones. If she reaches the mid-class Bing Yuan realm, how powerful would she be? All of a sudden, all the core disciples who came to watch the competition were extremely happy. The more powerful their brother and sister were, the more glorious they would feel when they walked out. Plus, they had also heard something about luck. The higher the rank, the more luck the individual and the martial institution would have. In the future, with the luck of their brother and sister and the martial institution, their training would be even smoother, and they might even be able to reach a realm that they couldn't even imagine. Hearing everyone's words, Yi Chen thought to himself, this year's competition level is super high, and the popular candidates for the top 10 have even reached the limit of class Bing Yuan realm warriors. They are the top of the top. Fortunately, I have prepared a lot of ace attacks. Otherwise, I might not be able to make it. Let's see who is the most powerful warrior below the astral reaching realm. No matter if it was the Yi Chen from his previous life as a university student, or the Yi Chen now as a sword artist, he was still a young man with the desire to fight inside him. Right now, he felt like he had been ignited, and his spirit and chi kept on increasing, surpassing his previous level. Inside a massive building in the center of the Hidden Dragon ancient city, a lot of leaders from different martial institutions had gathered. The leaders of the top 7 rank 6 martial institutions were the only 7 Sea of Souls realm warriors there. Everyone, the reason why I have gathered you here is about the judges. The competitions of the Hidden Dragon rank are not simple, and using people from any martial institutions as the judges would not be enough to convince the crowd. Therefore, just like before, the judges will be chosen from the astral reaching realm warriors who do not belong to any martial institutions. Do you have any objections? The leader of the Floating Mountain Martial School stood in the middle of the 7 people. His voice was not loud, but it had covered the entire building. I have no objections. Me neither. No one objected. The leader of the Sky Demon sect took the lead and said, the previous chief judge, Luo Jiachen, was fair and impartial. He should be the chief judge this time. Senior Luo. He is indeed an impartial man, I agree. That would be for the best. Luo Jiachen was an elder in his 70s. He chuckled as he walked out, holding his fists together as he said, thank you, everyone, for thinking so highly of me. Since Leader Mo has recommended me, I will reluctantly accept it. Of course, don't worry, everyone. Even if it is a disciple of the Sky Demon Martial School, a loss is a loss. I will not be grateful just because Leader Mo recommended me. The leader chuckled. The competitions of the Hidden Dragon rank were sacred and solemn. If someone tried to cover up for a disciple of the Sky Demon Martial School, he would be the first one to disagree. Otherwise, he would not have recommended him to be the chief judge. There were 1 chief judge and 12 judges in the competitions of the Hidden Dragon rank. Now that the chief judge had been selected, it was time to choose the 12 judges. There were 3 requirements to be a judge: 1 must be fair, 2 must have a high cultivation, and 3 must have good eyesight. The chief judge, Luo Jiachen, had been a judge for many times, and he was a late astral reaching realm warrior himself. Adding his impartial attitude, it was quite expected for him to be the chief judge. Although the other judges did not need to be as powerful as Luo Jiachen, they could not be too weak either. Otherwise, if they became a joke, no one would be able to look good, especially the leaders of the 7 rank 6 martial institutions. Under everyone's expectation, 2 long days had passed, and it was already the morning of the 3rd day. The sky had just begun to brighten, and the clamor had already swept through the entire Hidden Dragon ancient city. Looking from the sky, one could observe that numerous torrents of people were converging towards the center of the ancient city. They were like numerous complicated black rivers that flowed endlessly. Inside the yard, all of the people from the Sky Cloud Martial School were there. Today is still the elimination competition. Let's take it slow and steady. If you are confident, try not to expose your real power too early. Luo Xinglie reminded the 3 of them. Yes. Yi Chen and the other 2 nodded. Alright, let's not talk anymore. Let's go. The same reminder was happening in the other martial institutions as well. Although there were only 72 people in each Hidden Dragon rank competition, everyone wanted to go further. After all, in this kind of intense battle, the chance of making a breakthrough was very high. It was not like there had never been cases of people making a comeback before. The central area of the ancient city was a vast flat land. Around the flat land were densely packed spectator stands, extending far into the distance. The whole place looked like an iron pot. The bottom of the pot was flat land, and the walls of the iron pot were the spectator stands. Sitting in the spectator stands, one could see the scene on the flat land by lowering their head. The competition is finally starting. Let's get a good spot first. Damn! These people are here way too early. They are even one step ahead of us. Look over there. A lot of people are training. Perhaps they have been here since last night. What a miscalculation. Luckily, there are other good spots. Let's not waste any more time. Let's go. People flooded into the audience stands. All of the warriors looked like they had gone crazy. They flew everywhere, trying to get a spot near the center. Some of them had even started to fight, glaring at each other. The good thing was that this was the Hidden Dragon ancient city, so everyone was more reserved. They did not dare to make too big of a scene. Otherwise, if there were a lot of clasping Yuan realm warriors fighting, it would definitely be a disaster. Under the first row of the audience stands, all of the young warriors who were qualified to participate in the competition stood together in groups of 3 to 5. The atmosphere was extremely tense. Zhu Mei glanced at the flat land, frowned and said, "This battling platform is too simple. There is only a flat land. How are we going to compete?" Yi Chen said, "Don't worry, there should be something else." The head disciple of the South Rudra Martial School, Qin Yulian, walked over with a smile on her face and said, "You don't mind if I stand with you guys, right?" Yi Chen laughed, "Of course not. Last time in the scorching ancient desert, it was the headmaster of your South Rudra Martial School who helped us out. We are all from the Windy Nation. We should help each other." Qin Yulian shook her head and said, "This year's competition is full of hidden dragons and tigers. It will not be easy to make a bloody path. The good thing is that I do not have a big goal. I just want to beat one opponent after another and push myself to the limit." Su Jing said, "All of a sudden, the terrain has changed." The few of them raised their heads and looked over, only to see that the vast flat ground had been torn apart and stored away. After that, 12 square-shaped battle stages rose up from the ground, all of them symmetrical to each other. At the opposite corners of the battle stages, there was a hollowed-out stone pillar. The stone pillars emitted rays of light, and in the end, they formed 4 ink-blue light screens that were as thick as a fist, resembling ink-blue crystals, protecting the battle stages within. A woo! A dragon roar came out from the deep abyss between the platforms. It was so loud that it startled a lot of the warriors in the audience seats. I don't think there was any dragon roar last year. Strange. Some of the warriors were surprised. I think this year's young warriors have too much blood and chi, which triggered some kind of mystery, which made the dragon fountain chi even more obvious. You are right. But luck is too mysterious. I wonder if it is real or not. I would rather believe it than not. The Hidden Dragon Ancient Place and the Hidden Dragon Ancient City are very mysterious. After a while, the audience seats were filled with people. Then, all of the powerful warriors from different martial institutions sat in the first row. The 13 judges split up. The head judge sat right in front of them while the rest of them kept an equal distance from each other. They were all observing the battling platforms down there so that they could make a decision at any time. As usual, the head judge would explain the rules of the competition. The rules of the competition were very simple. Besides the low-rank attacking great weapons, no other great weapons were allowed to be used. No pellets or destructive weapons like the Silver Light Thunderbolt bomb was allowed. Anyone who broke the rules would either lose the competition or lose the right to participate and be kicked out of the arena. Besides, the 700 contestants would be divided into 12 groups to compete for points. There would be 10 rounds of competition, and only 12 people from each group would be able to make it to the next stage of the competition. Once they made it to the next stage, they would be able to join any two groups and continue with the second stage of the competition. 12 people from each group would also make it to the next stage of the competition. It sounded very easy, but it was not easy for the young generation of contestants. There were 10 rounds in the first stage of the competition, and 10 rounds in the second stage as well. It would be 20 rounds in total. 20 rounds of battles would definitely be extremely tough. If one did not have a strong mentality, he or she would definitely break down under the pressure of the competition and lose the upper hand. Therefore, the competitions of the Hidden Dragon rank would not only test one's power, but also one's mentality. Of course, there would also be an element of intelligence, since no one else would be able to win 20 rounds in a row except for the top 10. For most of the people, it was worth considering when to fight and when to give up. They would not be able to act recklessly. Everyone, please take a look at the jade tags that you got from the challenge stage. There is your group number on it. The head judge Luo Jiacheng activated his Jin Qi and said loudly. Hearing him, all of the young warriors took out their jade tags from their storage rings. Group 3. Yi Chen looked at the jade tags and said. I am Group 5. I am Group 6. Group 10. Su Jing and the other two announced their groups. The four of them separated and went to the judges of their groups to fill in their personal information and get their individual numbers. Then, it would be the group elimination competition. He is also in this group. After getting his number, Yuan Hengying noticed Yi Chen, who was standing nearby. He was both surprised and nervous. He was surprised because he had the chance to beat Yi Chen right away, but he was nervous because he did not have much confidence. The two conflicting emotions made him clench his fists tightly. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.